Not all women who are abandoned need redemption from a lovesick second male lead. When I heard Ethan Chen say, the thought of Alice's hands having touched so much blood makes me feel disgusted, I knew he had fallen for the new college girl intern at the company. I calmly presented him with the divorce papers. Because my life has never been solely about him. But later, unable to find me, Ethan lost his mind. I'm just tired today. Not in the mood. Ethan pulled my hand down and turned his back to me. Today was my ovulation day, the day we planned to conceive, but now he was rejecting me. Perhaps sensing his actions were too harsh, Ethan turned back and pulled me into his embrace. Kissing my forehead, he murmured, "Hush now, go to sleep." Hearing his steady breathing, I knew something had shifted between us. So the next day, I left work early from the hospital, arranged a romantic candlelight dinner, and planned to surprise Ethan. But just before entering, I overheard his conversation with his close friend Lucas. I did love Alice deeply back then, treasured every moment with her. But now, the mere thought of her hands being covered in so much blood just makes me feel disgusted. Basically, you're just bored with her, Lucas said casually. Ethan didn't deny. So, you've hooked up with that secretary? The one named Sophia Sue, right? Ethan didn't speak this time, falling into prolonged silence. No way. You're actually serious? Ethan said flatly, almost. Rein it in, man. We've all seen how obsessed you were with Alice back in the day. Hell, you'd have fucking died for her. Don't push your luck and end up digging your own grave. When you're crawling through the marital inferno begging for forgiveness, no one will save your ass. Ethan seemed to scoff. Would she be willing to give up 10 years of her youth? Ethan's words plunged me into an icy abyss, chilled to the bone. Thinking of his repeated rejections these past days. So he wasn't actually tired, he just thought I was disgusting? These two words pierced my heart like needles, the pain so sharp I couldn't breathe. He understood how valuable a decade of her youth was. But he turned it into a bargaining chip to wound me. The name Sophia did ring a bell. She was a new intern previously hired by Ethan's company. I still remember when Ethan first mentioned her, the admiration in his eyes couldn't be concealed. He told me Sophia had been outperformed by other candidates in the interview. But the girl refused to give up, persistently pleading with the interviewer for another chance, even nearly breaking down in tears and dropping to her knees. This kind of perseverance is rare in most young people today. In the end, out of sympathy, Ethan eliminated the stronger candidates and made an exception to hire her. At that time, I couldn't help but frown. Isn't this moral blackmail? Interviews are evaluated based on ability, not on who appears the most pitiful. Doing so is unfair to other candidates. Ethan's face darkened uncharacteristically. How could you become so cold-blooded after being a doctor? Did I shelter you too well before? I didn't question myself over his accusations and stood my ground, continuing to argue with him. Because of this, we gave each other the cold shoulder the entire night. In the end, Ethan swallowed his pride and came to coax me with humility. We finally made up. But still, I remembered the name. I hadn't expected she would become Ethan's personal secretary. From then on, Ethan stopped sharing company matters with me. People have a desire to share. If they don't share with you, they're sharing with others. Turns out all changes had their signs. At night, I lay down early, feeling the mattress dip behind me. A man's cold hands wrapped around my waist. I fought the urge to vomit, grabbing Ethan's hand as it tried to slip under the hem of my clothes. I don't feel well, my voice came out icy. Ethan froze. I could sense his arousal, aware that holding back would be unbearable. But he didn't force me. Instead, he thoughtfully tucked the blanket around me and went to the bathroom to relieve himself. He took his phone along as well, as had become his habit whenever he went to the bathroom. Soon, my phone received a friend request, and the profile picture was actually Sophia's. Taking a deep breath, I accepted it. Soon, a screenshot came through. It was a chat log between her and Ethan, showing the time when Ethan had just entered the bathroom. Sophia sent Ethan the name of a hotel and a room number. She told him, "I don't demand a divorce. I just want to give my first time to the man I love most. If you don't come, I'll just find some random man. Anyway, it's not you, makes no difference to me." Don't say I didn't warn you. Ethan replied with just 3 words, on my way. Just as I finished reading, Ethan came out of the bathroom. Honey, something suddenly came up at the company that I need to handle. He used to use this excuse often to go out in the middle of the night. Because of trust, I never pressed further. Thinking back now, was it always to see Sophia? I'm coming with you. Ethan hesitated, then smiled gently, stroking my head. Aren't you feeling unwell? Don't exert yourself. It'd break my heart if you ruined your health. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. Without another word, he turned and walked out of the room. I followed him in my car, stealthily trailing behind. Ethan was driving really fast, and I nearly lost track of him multiple times. Sophia was waiting for him right at the hotel entrance. As soon as they saw each other, they embraced and kissed like lovers who had been holding back for a long time. Suppressing the bitterness in my heart, I took out my phone to snap photos. I even recorded a dozen seconds of video. I watched helplessly as they walked into the hotel. After calming down in the car for a while, I called my graduate advisor from my student days, Professor Lee. He is abroad and it's morning there. He answered the call. Professor, do you still need help with your project abroad? Professor Lee paused for a moment, then responded with surprise and delight. You've made up your mind? If it's you, we need you anytime. When I graduated from postgraduate school, Professor Lee had wanted me to join him abroad for a research project. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me. But for Ethan, I chose to stay. Over the years, Professor Lee has never stopped trying to persuade me. But I refused every time. To be honest, I have always wanted to go. Now I can finally do so without any reservations. I have no regrets about the choice I made back then. At that time, Alice wanted to chase after love. Now Alice is determined to follow her dream. Each of these decisions was made by following my own heart. Finally, Professor Lee and I confirmed the arrangement for me to come there in about a month. Returning home, I grabbed the bottle from the liquor cabinet and started gulping down glass after glass. In a month, I can leave completely. My close friend Tom sent me a message on WeChat. How did it go? The candlelit dinner was romantic, huh? I knew it. Ethan's crazy about you. Just butter him up a bit and you'll seal the deal for sure. Everyone had said Ethan loved me, and I used to believe that too. It turns out when a man wants to pretend to love, he can deceive everyone around them. Glancing up at the ring on my finger, I smiled self-mockingly. Ethan bought this for me after working 3 months as a delivery driver. At that time, he and his friends had just started a business and had invested all their money into the new company. To buy me a proper ring, he worked at his company during the day and delivered food part-time at night. He only slept less than 3 hours each day. Once, he was so exhausted from delivering takeout that he dozed off while riding his electric scooter, falling on the pavement with the scooter. Luckily, the passing car had braked in time, otherwise the consequences would have been unimaginable. When I arrived at the hospital, his hands and feet were covered in blood, and his clothes were soaked with it. When I arrived, Ethan instantly hid his injured hand behind his back. With tears in my eyes, I asked him why he had done all this. He clumsily wiped away my tears. Silly girl, of course I want to marry you sooner. What if someone snatches you away? Now that I have you, I can't bear to give you up. Later on, we made a lot of money and our financial situation improved. But I had always worn that ring. Ethan said he wanted to buy me a bigger diamond ring, but I refused. In my heart, it was more precious than any diamond ring. Remembering how nervous Ethan was when he proposed to me, I took off the ring and placed it on the dining table. His words from back then still echoed in my ears. But the person is no longer the one from back then. That ring, I don't need it anymore. In the middle of the night, Ethan sent a message, "Wife, the company's issues are a bit tricky. Might not make it back tonight. Don't wait up for me, get some good rest. I'm here with Lucas." It seemed he had already gotten his story straight with Lucas, what loyal brothers they were. I didn't reply. Because I had too much to drink, I lay down on the couch and fell asleep. In the dream, it was the scene of my first encounter with Ethan. At that time, we were both freshmen in our freshman year. During military training, the first thing Ethan said to me was, "Hi, you're really beautiful." Such a corny pickup line. Because of that line, his roommates teased him for a whole year. After that, he often messaged me on WeChat. Even though we weren't in the same major, I kept running into him on campus. Many people hit on me in college, and at first, I didn't feel anything special toward him. But gradually, I was moved by his sincerity and enthusiasm. After we got together, Ethan doted on me even more. Everyone around me envied me for having such a considerate boyfriend. We studied together from undergraduate through graduate school. After I graduated with my master's degree, Ethan proposed to me. I said yes without a second thought. Ethan hugged me tightly, his eyes reddened with joy, his voice choked with emotion. "Ollie, trust me. I will build a good life with you. I will never fail you." Now I have lost utterly. But I can only honor the bet and take the loss. The next day, I was jolted awake by my phone's fixed alarm, only to find my hugging pillow soaked with tears, a large patch dampened. Ethan didn't come back all night. I told myself this would be the last time I cried for him. Then I got up, went to the bathroom for a quick freshening up, and prepared to leave for work. Although I had decided to resign, there was outpatient clinic duty today and medical reports to write. I couldn't just take leave. That's how the adult world works. Even when you're utterly heartbroken, you must carry on with your responsibilities. Before going to work, I called a lawyer friend of mine to consult about divorce-related matters. No melodramatic entanglements or complaints. I don't need some lovesick second male lead to suddenly appear, redeem me, and slap Ethan in the face. My life has never been only about Ethan. I have my own road. Divorce is the only outcome I can imagine between us. In the morning, after submitting my resignation letter, I went to work. The workload was heavy, and being busy helped me temporarily forget about Ethan. But unexpectedly, before I could go to find Ethan, he took the initiative to come to the hospital. I was about to bring the documents to the patient's family in the ward when I spotted a familiar figure nearby. It was Ethan, tightly holding hands with Sophia, her face streaked with tears. They rushed anxiously into the cardiovascular department. The ward they were rushing to was the one I was supposed to go to. It turned out Sophia's mother had fallen ill. Seeing her mother's haggard face, Sophia wept by the bedside, unable to stand. Ethan was gently patting her back, whispering comforting words. Sophia's mother said she had no regrets in this life, only that she worried if she were gone, her daughter would be left to suffer alone in the world with no one to care for her. I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow because the patient I was looking for was Sophia's mother. From what I recalled, her condition wasn't as critical. Upon hearing this, Sophia immediately told her mother she had a boyfriend to reassure her. When Sophia's mother pressed for the name, Sophia cast a desperate glance at Ethan. Ethan then slipped his arm around Sophia's waist, his expression calm and composed. "Auntie, I'm Sophia's boyfriend. Don't worry about anything, just focus on getting better. I'll take care of Sophia properly." After saying that, he cast an affectionate glance at Sophia. Sophia's mother still didn't believe it and insisted they kiss in front of her before she would agree to focus on her treatment. This time, Ethan looked visibly uncomfortable and couldn't help but glance around. Sophia tugged at his shirt tail, her face pleading. In the end, Ethan couldn't refuse and reluctantly lowered his head to kiss her. Expressionless, I entered the ward and took photos with my phone. Since I had decided to divorce him, having more evidence on my phone couldn't hurt. Ethan opened his eyes to see me and forcefully shoved Sophia away. His face paled, eyes clouded with unfamiliar panic and dread. "Ollie?" Sophia, who had looked somewhat resentful, had her expression changed abruptly at the sound of my name. She looked at me in panic. They were both afraid I would make a public spectacle. But I simply said calmly, "The family members of patient in bed 03, come sign the documents." With that, I turned and left the ward. Ethan and Sophia hurried after her. I handed the documents to Sophia to fill out. "Your mother has a cardiovascular blockage. She'll undergo a stent placement procedure tomorrow. Normally she can be discharged 3 days after the procedure. She was already informed yesterday." Upon hearing this, Sophia's hand trembled as she held the pen, and she glanced guiltily at Ethan. Ethan pursed his lips. "Why are you here?" I transferred here a year ago. Ethan choked up, unable to say anything else. The wife has changed jobs over a year ago, which the husband remained unaware of, a clear reflection of his lack of care. Sophia handed me the completed forms, and when I saw the address on them, I froze. The address she had written down was the first house that Ethan and I had shared during our cohabitation. At that time, Ethan bought it under my name. He told me, "This place holds all our beautiful memories. From now on, you are the sole owner of this house. No other woman is allowed in unless you say yes." Ethan seemed to realize this too and was about to explain, but Sophia cut in first. "Sis Ollie, I'm sorry. My landlord abruptly decided to sell the house and forced me out. Brother Ethan couldn't bear to see me homeless, so he gave me the keys to the house. Please don't blame Brother Ethan. The fault is all mine." I looked up at Sophia's delicate and pitiable gaze. Youth indeed can invoke compassion. "How long have you stayed there?" Sophia paused, as if she hadn't expected me to remain so composed. Two months. "Very well, Miss Sue. As you should know, the house is registered solely under my name. The rent based on the current market rate is $8,000 per month. You'll need to transfer the payment to me within the next 2 days. Also, I'm putting the house up for sale in a few days. Please move out immediately." Sophia looked at Ethan with grievance only to find that Ethan was staring intently at me. Of course, if Miss Sue has no money, she can find someone else to pay me. As long as I get the money, I don't care where it comes from. Ethan frowned and gritted his teeth. "Alice, is this necessary? It's really not interesting, so when you have time, let's talk about the divorce." Hearing the word divorce, I could clearly see smug delight flicker across Sophia's face. Ethan's expression darkened. "Do you have to act this way? I was just helping her and it was only a kiss. Is this really something to escalate?" "Is that so? Then does that mean I can also help out by casually kissing some other man? How dare you?" "Humph, hypocrite." I sneered. It seems Mr. Chen didn't fully enjoy himself at the hotel last night. "No worries, I'll move out today so you two can have your fun at home properly." Ethan was stunned, his voice a bit hoarse. "You know about that?" I didn't answer. "I'll have a lawyer draft the divorce papers and send them to you soon." As I prepared to leave, Ethan seized my hand. It was only then that he noticed I wasn't wearing my wedding ring. "Alice, is this for real?" I pulled my hand free and left, having no intention to argue with him in the hospital. We have nothing left to talk about except divorce. Behind me came Ethan's exasperated voice. "Alice, you'll regret this. This time I won't humble myself to beg you again. There are plenty of women lining up to be Mrs. Chen. It turns out that when someone is utterly speechless, they might actually laugh." Even though he was the one who cheated, he could question me so self-righteously. I really don't know where he got such nerve. In the evening, my close colleagues held a farewell party for me at a KTV. Everyone was reluctant to see me go. However, knowing that I had better prospects ahead, they were all genuinely happy for me. On my way back from the bathroom, I saw Ethan in the neighboring private room with several friends. From the conversation, it sounded like they were talking about me. "Brother Ethan, is sis really going to divorce you for real this time? I do say it's all about being spoiled. My woman threw a scene before too, and isn't she obedient as hell now? Women shouldn't be indulged. If it were me, I'd leave her hanging. If she wants a divorce, let her file it. There's still a 30-day cooling off period anyway. Once she realizes we're not desperate to keep her, she'll come crawling back. You guys are nothing like Brother Ethan. He's infamous as a wife-spoiling fanatic. I know all their wives. Some were each doing their own thing, using their husband's money to secretly support younger men on the side. Others stayed for the sake of their children, treating their husbands as long-term meal tickets. These days, no woman is foolish enough to sacrifice for a scumbag without getting something in return." Ethan was drinking with a grim expression. While the others were surreptitiously eyeing his demeanor, he suddenly declared, "After all these years, it's time to teach her a lesson." Upon hearing Ethan's words, the atmosphere in the private room became lively again. "Mrs. Chen? What are you doing here? Are you here to see Bro Ethan? Come in, Bro Ethan's right here." Before I could react, Ethan's buddies pushed me into the private room. When Ethan saw me, his brows and eyes instantly softened, and the hand gripping the wine glass gradually relaxed its hold. But he still maintained a straight face and refused to look at me. It was then that I noticed all the other men had one or two female companions drinking with them, except Ethan. Lucas immediately clarified, "Sis, don't get the wrong idea. These girls are with us. Brother Ethan has nothing to do with them. Quick, take a seat. Besides you, who would even think of sitting next to Brother Ethan?" I didn't notice when Ethan had already moved his coat aside, leaving the seat open for me. Lucas began to clear the room, asking the female companions to leave. I hurried to stop him. "No need. I came with colleagues and have to go back now. And Ethan and I are getting divorced. Those matters have nothing to do with me." Before I could finish, Ethan cut me off as if he loathed hearing those two words, divorce. "Alice, have you had your fill? Even joking has its limits." I stared directly at Ethan. "I'm not joking. Do you remember what I said when you got drunk for the first time at that KTV? I am serious." Ethan's face darkened as he heard this, clearly remembering the incident. Once, Ethan got drunk and mistook another girl for me, nearly kissing her, but I arrived just in time to stop him. Back then, I told Ethan, "If you become tainted, I won't take you back." Just as I reached the doorway, I heard a glass shatter violently behind me. Ethan smashed his glass. "Alice, so you want a divorce, is that it? Fine, I'll grant your wish. Don't you dare be late at the Civil Affairs office tomorrow." Good. That's exactly what I wanted. After the evening gathering, I went back to Ethan's house to pack my belongings. I had already asked Tom to help me casually rent a place near her house. I won't be staying long anyway. As I was leaving with my suitcase, I happened to encounter Sophia bringing a drunken Ethan back. Our eyes met, and a smug look of triumph flashed across Sophia's face. She laid Ethan on the sofa. As Sophia started to rise, Ethan yanked her into his arms. "Wife, I feel awful. Hold me tight." The more Sophia struggled, the tighter Ethan clutched her. "Wife, don't leave me." Sophia glanced at me, her face flushing red. "Mr. Chen, let go. Don't act like this. Someone's watching." I had no desire to keep watching their flirtation. Taking my suitcase, I left. The next day, I brought the divorce agreement drafted by the lawyer and processed the divorce with Ethan. The property was divided equally, and everything went smoothly. As we came out, Ethan said, "Alice, do you feel defeated now? Do you think I would grovel and beg you like I did before? There's a limit to my patience. I hope you know I won't tolerate your unreasonable demands every time." I didn't respond, gazing at the divorce agreement papers in my hand as the corners of my lips curved into a faint smile. In 30 days, Ethan and I will be completely unrelated. Ethan frowned. "I'll find another place for Sophia to stay these 2 days. I'll have my assistant send you her rent." I nodded. "All right, I've already packed my things. The rest you can throw away. Don't forget you need to come over again in 30 days. I turned around to leave. Ethan suddenly spoke. "It wasn't me who asked Sophia to pick me up yesterday. I was drunk and she happened to call." The waiter overheard the call and called her over. "Ethan, you don't need to explain so much to me. It's your personal matters anymore." Ethan's face turned even grimmer. The next day, I boarded a plane to the City A. Professor Lee had a 5-day academic forum in the City A that he couldn't attend himself, so he asked me to go in his place. Since I wanted to get away and relax, I agreed. During those 5 days, I gained a wealth of knowledge and had the opportunity to meet many preeminent figures in the industry. The days were fulfilling, and I didn't even think about Ethan once. See? Love isn't that important to someone after all. There are many more meaningful things in life waiting for me to pursue. The day after I returned, I went to work at the hospital. As soon as I got off work, I saw Ethan standing nearby. He was leaning against a black Maybach, holding a cigarette, his clothes disheveled, and his face haggard. A male colleague who was getting off work with me leaned close to my ear and whispered, "He's been waiting here for days. I heard he asked the security guard about you. When he found out you weren't at work, he waited outside every day." He gave me a worried look and asked if I wanted help. I shook my head and declined. I had just bid him farewell when I saw Ethan approaching me. As he approached, I noticed his eyes were bloodshot, a clear sign he hadn't slept for days. He had stubble on his face, something almost impossible for someone with his slight mysophobia. Dr. Jiang, you're really something, finding your next target so quickly? I just wonder how they would react knowing you have a 10-year-long ex-husband who has been around. Ethan, perhaps 10 years is a long time for you, but for me, 10 years means nothing. Not getting the response he wanted, Ethan seemed to lose his composure. Alice, do you think disappearing for these few days would make me act desperate and frantic over you? Too bad you're disappointed, but I didn't call you even once during these days. You can ask your friends, I didn't even ask them where you went. So what are you doing here now? Ethan was stumped by my question, seemingly unsure why he had come here himself. After a long pause, he finally spoke, you changed the locks to the house. I can't get in. Ethan was referring to the house where Sophia had lived. It seemed he had been there these past few days. I nodded, yes, that's my house. I've decided to sell it. I changed the locks to prevent people who shouldn't be there from entering. Ethan couldn't believe it, you're really selling it? You can bear to part with it? What is there to cling to? Keeping it serves no purpose. The agent will bring potential buyers in a couple of days. If you still have things to retrieve, you can come then. When I said it was of no use, Ethan's eyes instantly reddened, a wounded look flashing through his gaze. In the past, whenever Ethan and I fought, whenever he showed that look, my anger would vanish and I'd laugh and run to comfort him. But now, the place remained the same, but the people had changed. He is no longer the Ethan who would sacrifice everything for me, and I am no longer the Alice who trusted him with all my heart. His tears could be shed for me just as easily as for another woman. I turned to leave. Ethan, as if he didn't want me to go just yet, quickly added, one more thing. I want to be available for the originally scheduled time to pick up the divorce certificate. It has to be changed. Finally seeing an expression other than indifference on my face, Ethan smiled with satisfaction. Ethan, don't you dare joke like that. No matter what, you'd better be there at the Civil Affairs Bureau. I don't have time to waste on you. After all, I had already promised Professor Lee that I'd go abroad as soon as I got the divorce certificate within a month. I don't want us to end up in court. Ethan's smile froze. Do you really want a divorce that badly? Isn't that what you wanted as well? This way he can openly be with Sophia. Ethan didn't deny it, we'll see when the time comes. Anyway, I'm not sure about my plans. Satisfied with my angry expression, Ethan drove away. Back home, I took 2 bottles of wine to Tom's place. Ethan is such a bastard. Tom slammed her glass down, her face flushed with anger as she cursed Ethan. If I had known he was this kind of person, I wouldn't have helped him back when he proposed to you. I continued to pour wine into our glasses, shaking my head with a smile. Who could have predicted the future? No matter how passionately love begins, in the end it all comes down to conscience. I'm just glad I found out before it was too late, and everything is still in time. I've heard that during the 5 days you went missing, Ethan didn't even return to the company. He handed everything over to Lucas. And was camped out at the hospital entrance every day waiting for you. 5 days of you being gone got him like this. If you really go abroad, he'd go completely crazy. Tom's tone carried a hint of schadenfreude. But I don't care at all about how Ethan would react to my leaving. Right now all I can think about is how to help Professor Lee with his experiments once I go abroad and worrying that Ethan might stand me up on the day we're supposed to get the divorce certificate. The rest isn't part of my considerations. Tom raised her glass and clinked it against mine. Alright, our sis Jiang is a total careerist. Love that. The next day after waking up from a drunken night, I received a call from the real estate agent. He told me they had found a buyer for the house, someone who paid in full without haggling. I was very pleased. Finally, there was some good news, and I asked the agent to help expedite the transfer process as soon as possible. In the following days, I was busy with the hospital handover and handling my overseas arrangements. Ethan would occasionally call me. The calls were all about trivial questions like where his clothes and ties were. When it happened too often, I simply stopped answering. If it weren't for needing to obtain the divorce certificate, I would have blocked him immediately. Later, Lucas came to see me once and told me that Ethan had fired Sophia. He also mentioned that Ethan hasn't been doing well recently, and got drunk and got into a fight yesterday. I had no liking for his brother and replied coldly. If he's injured, go to the hospital. What's the use of telling me? I understood his intention, it was simply to plead on Ethan's behalf. But the root of the problem was never Sophia. The mistress is certainly despicable, and even if despised by everyone, she doesn't deserve any pity. But the man who cheated is the true source of the evil. Without a mistress, there would still be a fourth, a fifth. Once a man strays, he can't easily quit. And I have no interest in being a scorned woman. Before I knew it, the day before our divorce certificate appointment arrived. I was at home packing my bags, debating whether to call Ethan to remind him. Unexpectedly, while I was still agonizing, Ethan showed up at my door. He stormed in, his entire being radiating hostility, and glared at me with a fierce, menacing look. Was it you who sent the photos of my affair to my father? I was stunned. What? Don't play dumb. If you hadn't told my dad about my affair, would he have collapsed from a heart attack at home? If Sophia hadn't found him just in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Only then did I realize what Ethan was referring to, and my expression darkened. I had considered asking Ethan's father to help persuade him, but since old Chen had a heart condition, I quickly dropped the idea for fear of triggering an attack. Ethan, if you've got no brains, go get them checked at the hospital. I'm a cardiologist. Do you think I would risk a patient's life? The moment I finished speaking, Ethan's fist smashed into the wall behind me. His eyes were pained. Alice, you've let me down so much this time. I never thought you were capable of this. You want a divorce? Fine. I'll be there tomorrow. Watching Ethan's retreating figure, any urge I had to explain further faded. He wasn't going to listen to a word now. Perhaps it's just as well. If he doesn't believe me, nothing I say will work. At least this incident made him willing to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get the divorce certificate, which counts as a good thing for me. When I left the Civil Affairs office, I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. It was as if the heavy stone that had been weighing on my heart finally disappeared. In contrast, Ethan's brows remained furrowed throughout the entire process. He opened his mouth to speak, but was interrupted by the ringing of his phone. Sophia's anxious voice sounded from the other end of the line. It seemed something had happened to Ethan's father. Ethan hung up and hurried off. Before getting in the car, he looked up at me with a complicated expression. Alice, take some time to reflect on your behavior. I'll contact you to discuss our issues after some time. We've already got the divorce certificate, what's left to talk about? As I watched Ethan's car disappear into the distance, I murmured, Ethan, we want to meet again. That same afternoon, I packed my things and boarded a flight to Germany. In Ethan's eyes, it seemed like I was always acting out. He has never understood me. Once I decide on something, I never backtrack. Upon landing in Germany, the first thing I did was change my SIM card. Except for my parents and a few close friends, I cut off contact with almost everyone back home. I threw myself entirely into Professor Lee's research. Now, 2 years later, my team and I are preparing to return to China with the latest research results. Before returning to China, I had a phone call with Tom. Actually, there's something I never told you. Half a year after you left, Ethan came looking for me. I answered nonchalantly, so? That bastard actually knelt down in front of me in the company lobby just to find out where you were. I was so scared that I immediately called the cops and had them drag him away. I arched an eyebrow, that unhinged? Now, hearing about Ethan's matters again, I feel completely calm, as if listening to strangers gossip. Right? Totally unhinged. Now he's drowning in regret, but where was he back then? That damn cheating scumbag. Enough about him. But I'm quite surprised you haven't found anyone else all these years. Don't they say the best way to get over a relationship is to jump into a new one? I laughed. You can't count on others for things like this. You have to rely on yourself. The most profound lesson I learned from Ethan's story is that a man's true heart is the most unreliable thing, In reality, no one can rescue you from your wounds or heal them for you. The face I lost, I can only regain my own face. If you choose to be with someone else just to forget another person, that's unfair to the new person. I knew I would inevitably run into Ethan when I went back. I didn't intend to deliberately avoid him. Just didn't expect to run into Ethan at the very first industry cocktail party after returning to China. Ethan stood nearby, his eyes intensely bloodshot as he gazed at me like tears might spill at any moment. I was about to ignore him, but he grabbed my wrist and dragged me outside. In the garden, Ethan held me tightly in his arms and uttered countless "I'm sorry's." I kept shoving him off. Finally, I couldn't hold back anymore and simply splashed the red wine on his face. Come to your senses now? If not, I don't mind having the police drag you away. Ethan wiped the wine from his face, looking more sober, but his expression grew even more haggard. I know everything Sophia did, including the text she sent you and what she did to my dad. I've driven her out of this city. She'll never appear in our lives again. Ollie, I'm sorry for everything I did to you. I've regretted it every single day. I gave a light laugh. None of this matters to me now. Because I don't love him anymore, those things don't matter. Tears streaming down his face, Ethan gazed at me. Ollie, please come back. Not a single day has gone by without me thinking about you all these years. I never stopped loving you. I gazed at him with icy detachment. Ethan, don't forget we're already divorced. No, that's not how it was. I didn't mean to actually divorce you, I just wanted to teach you a lesson. In my heart, you have always been my wife. With that, Ethan pulled out the necklace from around his neck. It was actually the wedding ring I had left on the dining table 2 years ago. Only then did I notice Ethan was still wearing our wedding ring on his ring finger. Honestly, it's sickening. Ethan, we were over 2 years ago. I hope you won't keep pestering me, and don't make me look down on you. My words had no effect on Ethan. Since learning my whereabouts, he started appearing frequently in my life under the guise of pursuing me again. I chased you in college, I can chase you again. Ollie, this time I won't let go of you. I snapped. Do you think I'd jump into the same pit twice? The first time I jumped in, I could claim it was due to my naivety. The second time jumping into the same pit, then I'd just be a fool. But no matter how harsh my words were, Ethan refused to give up. With no other option, I could only treat him as a transparent person and focus on completing my work. After all, we were back in China this time for just a few months, and each day was packed. In the following days, Professor Lee went to the hospital to perform surgery on a cardiac patient. The patient's family had waited a long time before securing Professor Lee's expertise. Moreover, given the case's exceptional rarity, Professor Lee had me assist him during the surgery. After 7 hours, stretching from day to night, the surgery was finally completed successfully. As we came out, Professor Lee had just said a few words to the patient's family members when chaos erupted ahead. Apparently, a family member was dissatisfied with the hospital's treatment and came with a knife to take revenge. We were preparing to retreat when we saw the family member charging at us with a knife. I shoved Professor Lee aside and was ready to launch a flying kick at the attacker. Suddenly, a figure clamped their arms around me. Ethan. I couldn't break free. The next second, the blade plunged straight into Ethan's back. When Ethan woke up, it was already noon the next day. Seeing me sitting by his bedside, he managed a reassuring smile. Ollie, don't worry. I'm okay. I spoke coldly. Ethan, are you stupid? If you hadn't been there, I could have taken that lunatic down with one kick. These 2 years abroad, besides doing experiments, I spent my other time learning Sanda. One reason was for physical fitness. The other was that being abroad wasn't as safe as back home, so it helped in protecting myself. Considering the build of that man yesterday, he was no match for me. If it weren't for Ethan, I would have taken him down already. Hearing my words, Ethan's expression turned downcast again. I just didn't want you to get hurt. No need. And don't think you can use this injury to demand another chance from me. From the moment you called me disgusting, there was never any possibility left for us. So if I told you now that I never actually slept with Sophia, you wouldn't believe me, would you? Ethan laughed self-deprecatingly. I didn't take her. That time at the hotel, I stopped at the last moment. Because I thought of you. I just couldn't do it. It's laughable, really. Back then, I refused to explain myself out of sheer anger. I kept waiting for you to apologize even just once, to soften me with a kind word. But not once. Ethan pulled out a key from his wallet. The house you sold 2 years ago. I was the one who bought it. I couldn't bear the thought of someone else taking it. I've been living there these 2 years. The place is filled with all our beautiful memories. Every time I saw it, I thought of you, as if you had never left. As Ethan spoke, tears began to spill down his face. This self-indulgent act was making me want to laugh. Ethan, you are indeed laughable. Do you think only physical relations count as cheating? I saw you hugging and kissing her with my own eyes. You said you thought of me at the last moment, and it doesn't move me at all, it just makes me want to throw up. With that, I stood up to leave when Ethan grabbed my sleeve. I said coldly, in the end, you just got bored. I coldly shook free. Ethan, let us part on good terms. Don't make me regret loving you. I left the ward without a backward glance. Behind me was the sound of the man's sobs he could no longer hold back. In the following days, I didn't go back to the hospital to see Ethan. He had plenty of people around him, he didn't need my care. Soon, I went abroad again. On the plane, Professor Lee was talking about upcoming plans. A few young colleagues lamented with long faces, complaining they de-aged a decade in a year and their hair was falling out. Professor Lee gave them a good scolding. I laughed along beside them. Turned to gaze out at the distant sky. The road ahead will no longer be confined by the present limitations. I long for a freer, vaster sky. Noah's father came back and single-handedly took over everything, contacting the insurance company, the police, and lawyers. The moment his father arrived, Noah visibly eased up, the weight of responsibilities lifted off him once more. Since the other party had run a red light and was driving under the influence, the traffic police determined we bore secondary liability. However, the other party's family kept coming to cause trouble, and Song's father wanted to pay them off for peace of mind, with the compensation and medical expenses totaling nearly $400,000. The matter was more or less put to rest. That day, Dad Song invited me and Noah to dinner. I dressed up early and waited by the door. Noah lingered in a squat, taking his time to tie his shoelaces and refusing to stand up. I knew Noah didn't want to go. I couldn't help but roll my eyes and snapped impatiently, Noah, hurry up. How could I ever have found his little evasive tricks and delays endearing? I must have had pig fat clouding my heart, diluted by some demonic haze. Before entering the restaurant, Noah tugged at my sleeve. Sana, please don't tell Dad about the divorce. Okay? He deserves to know. I walked into the restaurant without turning my head. During the meal, Dad Song brought up the events of these past days and mentioned his plans for the future. If I remember correctly, Sana mentioned during last year's spring festival that she was going to get promoted within these 2 years. Don't worry, I'll return to take care of my wife. It won't affect either of your careers. You mean you're going to be promoted in the next 2 years? Noah suddenly looked up from the dining table, his face filled with shock. Noah's father paused mid-action while placing food in my bowl. Noticing his hesitation, I moved my bowl closer to meet his gesture. Thank you, Dad. You see, the same words some remember, others forget. Noah was supposed to be the one who remembered all these details about me, yet he turned out to be the most careless. But fortunately, I no longer hold any expectations for him. No expectations, no hurt. I know the truth of those words all too well. Dad, there's something I need to tell you. The moment I spoke, Noah looked up and fixed his gaze on me, his eyes pleading yet tinged with anger. Dad, Noah and I are divorced. No sooner had the words left my lips than Noah sprang to his feet, the chair legs screeching against the tiles with a shrill scrape. I subconsciously furrowed my brows. Sana, what's gotten into you? I've done everything to make you stay, what else do you want from me? Noah snarled furiously at me. This was the first time he had completely lost control since I brought up the divorce. Perhaps it was all the pent-up emotions finally erupting over time. I'll leave you two to talk. Noah's father had always been discreet. He stood up and left the private room. Noah, I wasn't joking when I brought up divorce. I never gave you any chance. From the start until now, I've never changed my mind about getting a divorce. I let out a deep sigh, trying to make this matter clear. Then why did you go along with my plan then? If I hadn't agreed, would you have let it go? You wouldn't have, Noah. You don't understand me, don't you even know yourself? You think you've done enough in this marriage. You think I'm just being melodramatic, and you even think I'm playing mind games. How could I not know you? Noah climbed over the chairs and sat down beside me, grabbing my hand. Sana, we've spent 13 years together now. 13 years. How could I not know you? Sana, tell me what's wrong with me, and I'll fix it. Will you? Looking at his red-rimmed eyes, the tip of my nose ached with a faint sourness. I pulled my hand back. Noah, did you know I won first prize in the design competition last year? Do you know what I drew in my early year sketches? Did you even look at or listen to the things I shared with you? Noah looked stunned by my barrage of questions, rooted to the spot like a man plunged into an icy abyss. Noah, this is where we end. As I walked out of the private room, I heard Noah's faint sobbing behind me. He seemed to be holding back his sobs. That sound was uncannily like the muffled sobs I had bitten my lip to stifle during countless sleepless nights late into the night. Noah's father leaned against the doorframe. Seeing me come out, he stood up straight. He smiled apologetically and a bit awkwardly. Dad, I'll head out first. Mr. Song nodded. After taking a few steps, I heard Dad Song's voice behind me. Sana, once you leave, never look back. I waved toward the space behind me without turning around. Once the divorce cooling-off period ended, Noah and I obtained our divorce certificate. The moment I walked out of the civil registry office, I suddenly felt an unprecedented sense of relief. Looking at Noah, I even found him somewhat likable again. Noah wasn't as disheveled as I had imagined. He remained handsome and tall, though with a few red marks on his chin. You should get a better razor. With that salary of yours, at least buy a decent one, I teased, smiling. He stroked his stubble and smiled. Where are you headed? Let me drive you. No need. I have a flight to Singapore this afternoon. This is really goodbye, Noah. I looked at the taxi I had called with its hazard lights flashing. I took a few steps down the steps, turned back, and waved. I had thought that was the last time I would see Noah. But that afternoon, I unexpectedly saw Noah again at the airport. He was holding a bouquet of flowers, wearing that gray sweatshirt, standing in the crowd of people coming and going, smiling and waving toward me. At that moment, I froze. My feet, as if refusing to listen, came to a sudden halt. I knew these 30 days, Noah would do everything he could to win me back. Well, I just wanted to see you off. Noah mumbled, I wanted to see you off, thrusting the flowers into my arms. It was a bouquet of my favorite white roses. I used to joke that I was Noah's lifelong white rose that would never wilt. But after we got married, Noah never sent me flowers again. This is the first time you've given me flowers since we got married. I stood there, not taking it. Perhaps Noah himself hadn't expected this. He stood there, fumbling for words for a long time. Noah, we both need to move forward. To many people, Noah is a good guy. I think so too, after all, we truly loved each other. But having seen how deeply he loved me, how could I accept the way he didn't? For many men, the wife they marry is like a possession marked with his exclusive label, left in a corner to gather dust as common practice. But we are human beings, we need care, and relationships need maintenance. The love they're too weary to express is the nourishment that sustains our lives. Noah and I were never the same kind of people, after all. What I wanted, he couldn't give. What he provided, I already have. For instance, the salary he turned over each month was something I didn't need. Can't hold flowers with luggage in hand. I shrugged, gesturing that I couldn't take it. Then I hugged him, patting his back lightly. Wishing you all the best, Noah. I walked away coolly, certain that the back I left Noah would remain unforgettable to him for a lifetime. I knew a piece of my heart was missing. I also knew that no one could ever fill that empty space again. But what does it matter? My future is bright. Why waste my life on a fleeting moment?